09 to 10 to 12. Again, members of the media, statistics have proven that the number of murders have drastically increased to over 4,123 in the past 6 years. This background is important to contextualize the debate of whether we are increasing, maintaining, or decreasing in this trend, having to focus specifically on murders. Therefore, we all need to have full appreciation of task at hand given to this current leadership. The reversal of 6 years is a mammoth task, but it is doable. Fellow South Africans, during my budget vote presentation on the 11th July this year, I made several pronouncements of how we intend to turn around the police, including the introduction of units that were disbanded and some units under-resourced in the past 6 years. Capacitating specialized units, detectives, hawks, and crime intelligence was also announced. Part of the pronouncement was the establishment of the Ministerial Advisory Council. This is aimed at bringing knowledge and expertise from subject experts in policing together with former generals of the police that made a positive impact during the tenure. Consultation in this regard have commenced. Last week, Friday, we had a fruitful meeting with the Institute for Security Studies in this regard. I'm intending to meet other relevant stakeholders in the sector, like Corruption Watch, that we have an outstanding date already, Social Justice Coalition, and academic fraternity, and all people that are willing and are available to make a positive contribution to the reduction of crime. The joint intergovernmental approach to the fight against crime will also yield positive results going forward, because fighting crime is everybody's responsibility. In the past year, we have put a lot of resources to curb cash in transit haste and other trio crimes, and this yielded positive outcomes in this regard. Another major intervention to address the scourge of murder in our matter is our specific focus on the Western Cape, which has a high murder rate. We have introduced Operation Thunder, anti-gang unit respectively, and the SANDF intervention of Operation Lockdown is another government intervention to date. Last year, when we released crime stats on the 2017-18 financial year, I said we dropped the ball. And I further said, next year, meaning the following financial year, we will either reduce, maintain, but definitely will not increase. Ladies and gentlemen, I am leading this team this morning to give that account. I am here to say, yes, the crime statistics are not looking good. However, they look much better than last year in addressing the 6-year drastic increase in most crime categories. In the previous financial year, the number of murders increased by 1,320. That figure was halved in the financial year following 2018-19 to 686. It still increased overall, but the increase of last year was decreased. This means the rate of increase is slowing down. However, when this is translated to percentage change, the figure reflects an increase of 2.6 in all contact crimes, and the 17 community reported crimes increased by 0.7%. Members of the media, all categories of crime and aggravated robbery decreased, except the robbery at the residential premises, where we registered an increase of 0.8. While we are not where we want to be, we are definitely not where we were last time. There are glimmers of improvements. We have recorded decreases in crimes of fear, such as cash in transit, bank robberies, car and truck hijack, as well as robbery at the non-residential premises. Intelligence has played a big role in infiltrating would-be robbers of cash vans and foiled their plans in many parts of the country. Police visibility at malls and other public areas has ensured that we are a step closer to achieving goals set out in the National Development Plan. The National Stability Intervention Plan, which includes Crime Intelligence Special Task Force, National Intervention Unit, and Technical Response Teams for quick mobilization, has also gone a long way in tackling trio crimes. We believe that the rebuilding of crime intelligence, hawks, and better working relationship with state security agents, National Prosecuting Authority, Department of Justice, and Department of Defense will continue to produce favorable results going forward. We will spread the focus and resources to areas of concern to ensure that results are improved. The crime statistics to be presented cover 21 crimes categories, namely 17 community-reported crimes and 4 other crimes categories detected as a result of police action. The scope of the crimes was reported at all 1,154 police stations, including satellite stations and ports of entry nationwide. All crimes were either reported by the victim, witnesses, third parties, or detected by members of the South African Police Service. The Family Violence, Crime Protection and Sexual Offences FCS unit continues to be one of the best units within the South African Police, with the fundamental responsibility to protect and serve women and children, vulnerable groups. The FCS has 185 units to deal with gender-based violence, including sexual offences. In the past financial year of 2018-19, the FCS recorded 658 life sentences out of 504 registered cases. It is through the highly specialized investigating work that 387 suspects were sentenced to 20 years and above. Since the re-establishment of the FCS achieved the following life sentences: 2010-11, there were 167. These are not people sent to prison, these are lifers sent to life sentences. 167, 2011-2012, 389 life sentences. 2012-2013, 826 life sentences. 2013-2014, 645 life sentences. 2014-15, 612. 15-16, 298, 16-17, 511, 17-18, 692, 18-19, 665. It is a total of 4,798 life sentences that has been achieved by this unit, FCS. Plan to increase the number of the FCS units countrywide and to recruit and train more women officers to work within the specialized environment are underway. To further fight the scourge of violence against women, we have heeded the President Ramaphosa's call to reopen the investigation of all cold cases, gender-based crime in the country. The National Commissioner here, with the head of the detectives, Lieutenant General Mosigiti, are already working on the team, as the President instructed last week, to revisit all these cold sexual offense cases. Fellow South African members of the media, the 2018-2019 annual crime statistics were declared as official statistics in line with prescript of the South African Statistics Quality Assessment Framework. This stamp of the approval will finally put to the rest question of the authenticity and legitimacy of the crime stats. For that reason, before I hand it over to the National Commissioner with the team to work on the actual figures, I will then invite the Statistician General to have a word in terms of working together to improve the legitimacy of these stats, which has been a big question, Bob Malulek, most of the time. But are you telling lies, or are you giving us stats because we don't know what is your authority of it? So the Statistician General is here. to be part of us moving forward.
Let me thank the Minister and again note the Deputy Minister, the Commissioner, Deputy Commissioners and members of the media who always assist us to communicate to the public. Firstly is that the Statistician General is responsible for official and other statistics. And the Statistician General gives only facts, nothing else but facts. I heard the Minister saying that the numbers have gone down, have gone up. The Statistician General doesn't have those emotional attachment to numbers. Whether a number is high or low, it's not for the Statistician General to worry about. The Statistician General makes numbers available to the nation. But let's come specifically to the crime statistics of 2018-2019. What has happened is that since 2010, we've been working together with the South African Police Services in relation to looking at the quality of statistics. And we will remember that in the past, statistics had gone through a moratorium following quality challenges that had occurred, a matter that we can talk about some other day. But when we look at statistics using the South African National Quality Assessment Framework, what we call SASCAF, as that's a saying, we look at statistics as being poor statistics, acceptable statistics. Before we come to acceptable, we have questionable statistics, acceptable statistics, and quality statistics. Only when we reach a status of quality statistics can statistics be released as official. But they still have to go through processes in the form of clearance processes that we have to uphold as standards. Now, coming to the 2018-2019 crime statistics, the Statistics Act does allow the Statistician General to designate any statistics as official, whether they are collected by any organ of the state, and in this case, the South African Police Services is within the remits of that and the relationship that we have worked together. Let me mention that such relationship has never contaminated in any form the way we assess the statistics to be of quality and then official. One of the things that we have done in the past, we have taken them through a lighter version of the South African statistical quality assessment framework. But this time we took them through all the cohorts, and these cohorts include, amongst other issues, accessibility, timeliness, coherence, methodological soundness, and of course, as we took them through, they did qualify. Now, having qualified to be official statistics, I had to sign a statement as Statistician General of South Africa, designating these statistics now having reached an official status. But such status is not given and guaranteed. It has to be upheld. But before it is upheld, the South African Police Services have to come back to the Statistician General by 2021 with certain prescripts while they are maintaining their status of official statistics. They have to come back with standards that relate to the work that they do in relation to crime statistics. They have to come back with a program of release. The release date must be published up front. So we'll know by 2021 that we will know on which day, like we do with the GDP. The nation and the world know at what point the GDP, the CPI, the quarterly labor force statistics are coming out. And of course, they also have to come with the terms and conditions of engagement in relation to the United Nations fundamental principles of official statistics. Should the Statistician General at any given point realize that the prescripts of methodological soundness, accessibility, timeliness, comparability, accuracy, and others are not upheld, we will withdraw that status of official statistics. So the crime statistics can be any other statistics. They can be acceptable, but they will not be official. So we have agreed with the Commissioner here myself and the Commissioner met in representing the South African Police Services and of course in representing the Ministry to ensure that these are upheld. At no given moment, not even on crime statistics or any other statistics, should the Statistician General come under pressure to provide any situation of favor or prejudice. The Statistician General has to hold his independence, and I can assure the nation that such independence shall always be upheld, and this statistics that you are about to receive, I therefore declare them official. I thank you.
Okay. Now, give us raw figures, Commissioner.
Thank you very much, Minister, for the opportunity. Just a confirmation that we both signed of the crime stats as official with the Statistician General. But the figures shall be presented to the public with the permission of the Minister by General Skoko. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. Thank you, National Commissioner, members of the media and colleagues. I'll be taking you through the 2018-19 financial year crime statistics.
Can we please get a copy? Yes, it does help being able to read. Yeah. Please.
Members of the media, please note that there is a copy on our website, but also we have distributed a copy of the stats and the Minister's speech. So I'll ask my colleague to possibly maybe give you a hard copy if that will help you. Sure. All right, but let's just move on while we do that.
Oh, thanks.
Thank you. I'm going to present the 2018-19 financial year crime statistics. As I've already gone into the details in the portfolio committee on police, I will stick only to the crime categories as presented in the national tables. Then the provincial personnel will go and present the provincial statistics in the relative provinces, and we will be going back to the portfolio committee, I think next week Wednesday, to give a more detailed presentation in terms of the statistics. So I will try to limit my presentation to as reasonable time as possible, but covering what is of concern. The crimes that we'll be reporting on, we're starting with those that are called contact crimes, which are made up of murder, sexual offences, attempted murder, assault GBH, common assault, common robbery, and robbery with aggravating circumstances. So in the current financial year, the murder statistics that we have reported is 21,022. When we compare this to the previous financial year, which is 20,336, it's an increase of 686 murders within this current reference period, and the percentage change is 1.4. Sexual offences, which is made up of these other crimes, that is the 4 crimes: rape, sexual assault, attempted sexual offences, and contact sexual offences. The 4 crimes together are clumped together to form what is called sexual offences. And in the current financial year, we had reported 52,420 of those. That is an increase of 2,312, or 4.6% increase. The next category is attempted murder, which is more or less related to the causal factors that emanate from the murder, as we talked about in the portfolio committee. Currently, we recorded 890,000 murders from the previous financial year of 18,233. That is an increase of 747, or 4.1% increase. The next category is assault with intent to inflict grievous bodily harm. 2017-18, we recorded 167,352. The reference period 2018-19, we reported 170,979. That is an increase of 3,627, or 2.2% increase. The next category is common assault. From 156 186,243, currently 262,012, an increase of 5,769, percentage change of 3.7. Common robbery, 50,730 in the 2017-18 to 51,765 in 2018-19, an increase of 1,035 or 2.0% increase. Robbery with aggravating circumstances, which is made up of carjacking, robbery at residential premises, robbery at non-residential premises, robbery of cash in transit, bank robbery, truck hijacking, robbery with a weapon other than a firearm, has increased by 1,668, a 1.2% increase. However, when you go into the details of the crimes that make up the robbery with aggravating circumstances, the only crime that has increased within that category is robbery at residential premises, whereby currently we recorded 22,431, an increase of 170, a percentage change of 0.8. Carjacking decreased by 299, which is a 1.8% decrease. Robbery at non-residential premises decreased by 56 or 0.3%. Robbery of cash in transit decreased by 55 incidents, which is a 23.1% decrease. Bank robbery decreased by 9 incidents. Truck hijacking decreased by 20 incidents, which is a 1.7% decrease. Then the second broad category that we report on is the contact-related crimes, which is made up of arson and malicious damage to property. Arson increased by 214 cases or 5.5%. Malicious damage to property increased by 1,597, which is a 1.4% increase. And the broad category total contact crimes increased by 1.6. Robbery at property-related crimes, which is made up of burglary and non-residential, burglary at residential, theft of motor vehicle, theft out of and stock theft. The only crime that has increased was the theft out of motor, was stock theft, which increased by 829 or 2.9% increase. The decrease in burglary at non-residential is 29 incidents, which is a 0.0% increase. But given the volume of the crimes that have been reported in that instance, vis-a-vis the percentage change or the numbers that have increased, that's why it results in a 0.0% increase. Then other serious crimes, the broad category itself increased by 1.4%, then all theft not mentioned elsewhere decreased by 0.7%, commercial crimes increased by 14.4%, shoplifting by 3.2% decrease, and then the crime detected as a result of police action, the only one that has decreased was a drug-related crime increase. Decreased is a drug-related crime whereby we recorded 90,890 cases led, and this might have been due to the change in legislation in terms of illegal possession of marijuana for personal use. Then sexual offences as a result of police action increased by 1,275, that is a 19.0% increase. And that is the summary of the annual crime statistics. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Director General Skukune. With that, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure that you are quite anxious to get your questions in. What we'll do is open the floor to questions. I'll take 3 questions at a time, and I'll also take some questions from the capital city, but let's start here in the mother city. Just indicate with your hands, please, and also identify the media house that you represent.
Good morning, Minister. Paul Bheki from Bloomberg News. Could the General please give us the international stand for murder rate, that is, the number of murders per 100,000 of population? Thank you.
All right, before we continue, I'd like to also just acknowledge the presence of the Hawks head, Dr. Libya, who is in the panel this morning. You can go ahead, sir.
Good morning, Jan Geiber, News 24.
Minister, you said earlier, I believe it was at your budget briefing last year, that heads will roll if the stats doesn't come down. So will heads roll, and if so, whose heads and when? Thanks.
All right, we'll take just one more question. Over to you.
Yes.
Let me enter from Business Day. Major General, could you give us the rate to population of the murder rate, please, compared to last year? Thank you. All right, with that, I'll hand it over to the panel.
It's a media briefing there. Among others, the Police Minister, Bheki Cele, just briefing the media on what he announced in Parliament with regards to the crime statistics. Remember, last year, if you can remember correctly, that the president...
What I said last year, again today, I don't know if you didn't hear it. I said, we will never be worse than where we were last year. The worst that we can do is to stagnate and then begin to reverse. That's why I made that point. I gave the figure that we have halved the figure that we have increased with it last year. You saw that figure, 1,320 to 686. That was that. But also on fear crimes, it's interesting that nobody speaks about cash heist anymore. It's very interesting because that's a question I had to answer big time last year, cash heist, and nobody this year is coming close to that. So, indeed, we're not where we want to be, but we are not where we were last time. So we believe we have stagnated. Ours now is to reverse. So the heads can roll because they are expected to shift back. They have managed to stop. They'll have to reverse. So allow the heads to reverse the situation, especially on some of the areas. Matter indeed, 686 people dead is a lot of number, but knowing that they've cut from 1,300. So let's give them, to say to them, go back to green, move away from red now. But also say to them, last year you had almost a cash heist almost every day, sometimes 2, sometimes 3. And then the car hijack, the truck hijack. So I think we need to look at broader and say, yes, Tim, you are not good as we want you to be, but you are not bad as you were. So maybe for that reason, the heads must be given an opportunity to work, and we see that they do better things. From our side as a ministry, we do not see the reason that they must roll now.
I think the 2 questions that were asked relate to the murder rate of 100,000. In the previous financial year, we had 35.8 per 100,000. In the current reporting period, we have 36.4 per 100,000.
The previous year, I didn't hear it.
35.8 per 100,000.
Okay, thanks.
Currently, 36.4 per 100,000.
Thanks.
All right, let's take it to the capital city.
Thank you, Renanzo, and good morning to the Minister, Deputy Ministers, the panelists and colleagues. I think we have a question in Pretoria. I'll give over to the guy. Please identify yourself and your media house.
Thank you. It's Albert from Tagana. Minister, we just want to know there seems to be an increase of murder during the weekend. What do police have a plan to mitigate that situation? What strategy will be used to make sure that goes down? And my other question is that when looking at the stats, there seems to be a huge increase in some police stations in Cape Town, where in Worcester, I'm not sure, it went down by 10%. Is it because of the military intervention that we are seeing that crime is going, it's less important, or going down in those police stations?
Is there anybody else?
I think that was the only one from our side. Back to you.
Minister?
I'm not very sure if I heard very well, but I think the first question is, what do we do to reduce the murder rate? So maybe it's time to take an opportunity that we have been on good times in terms of the murder reduction. If you look back, your statistics, 2010, 2011, 2011, 12, we have the figures that really, high as they are, 15,000. Is a high figure because human lives are lost there, but it's a figure that, as you look now, 21,000 is a lot of the increase of the murders. So there were things that were done properly that we need to reinvent, go back to them, and putting the new methods and methodologies in dealing with the crime. Some of them were in the speech were mentioned. To revitalizing some units that had impact before, the methods of broadening, working with more organization, NGOs, society at large, and everybody that can contribute, putting the shoulder on the wheel, but also working more as a cluster so that those people that they get arrested, we are able to put them where they're supposed to be. I must say that cluster itself is working much better than the previous years. 5-6 years is working much better. So that's the way that we will be working on. But also the further training of our units. Especially the specialized units that respond to the high-powered crimes like your cash heist, your bank robberies, your car hijack, your truck hijack. We have brought back the young General Kwanazi to work on those matters. But again, sharpening our detectives. Training more of the detectives, especially on the women's issues, to make sure that the FCS achievements, they are even better. So we'll be getting extra details of how we're going to, now we have stagnated the increase of crime, working on the slowing down, so we are increasing our ways of reversing that situation. And we are very sure and that we will be achieving the reversal of this situation. Western Cape, the station where we have reduced. By the way, most of the things you have seen in Western Cape, they would not be part of this crime stats. If you say you have seen that we have reduced crime in some areas and all that in Western Cape, it begins to bode well for the next financial crime statistics. These are up to from April up to March, and most of the efforts of the Western Cape have been done mostly at the very end of the previous financial year and this current financial year, which is a question that has been raised by especially the Portfolio Committee. How stale are we? How stale are our statistics by the time we release them? By the way, we can say that we are revisiting and we are discussing the matter, how frequent come the next years we'll be giving the statistics rather than once in a year. That is on the table. We're discussing it, and so that they are fresher, it's easy to respond, but South African are brought up to date with almost the current situation. Thanks.
Thank you, Minister. Anybody else in the capital? Rather, in the mother city. Yes, Paul?
Paul Bheki from Bloomberg again. Just on the murder rate per 100,000, the 2017 is 35.2. Did I hear you correct saying that it was 35.4? I just wanted to just clarify that. And if there is a change, was there a revision?
I'll take another question. Yes.
Good morning, I'm Cele from the Sunday Times. When Major General presented in the committee, he mentioned a number of 736 murders by children, and I think he said this is a new category in the stats. Can you just give us more on this issue? I mean, it's very disturbing. Where do these murders take place? What age groups are we talking about? What instruments are these children using? Thank you.
Okay, just one more. Over to you, sir.
Anela from the Zone. Commissioner, as far as sexual offences are concerned, do we have all police stations, readily available to deal with rape victims? With regards to the anti-gang unit, how effective has it been? You have a few dozens of members in that unit dealing with thousands, if not tens of thousands of gang members in the Cape Flats. Thank you.
All right, we'll start with the question from the member. Over to you.
With regard to the murder rate, I think initially you asked whether there is an internationally accepted murder rate. There is no such. You cannot compare countries that have different economic conditions and try to set up an internationally accepted standard. The scenarios and the conditions in each country dictates that it's not possible to set such a standard. Having said that, last year when we released the crime statistics, normally we would get media population estimates from Statistics South Africa. Then we were using a series, I think it was the 2014-2015 series, to recompute all those ratios. However, we made an error by taking the latest population estimates and juxtaposed it with the previous series. Having realized that, as is internationally acceptable, we wrote a revision and put it on the SABS website to say that the trend of the murder, when you compare the ratio, it's still the same. The only difference is the last number, which we then revised and put a revision note, which is what each and every credible statistical institution would do. And that's exactly what we have done. Hence, the change currently, we did not follow that series. We just took the recently released and computed the current ratio, because we had issues in terms of like, when do you change the series from 1 year to the next year? So I think it's safe to say we will maybe, once we wrap our head around it, for now use the recently released mid-year population estimate. That's why in the presentations we never even showed the trend. We just computed for the current financial year, because just a human error that is based on a mistake can be blown out of proportion. So we want to keep that we only use the latest. Then in terms of the contact crimes, I think with regard to the children, it's not necessarily a new category. The reason is we want to make you understand the contributory and causative factors that are leading to these increases that we observe in the murders. And we look at it holistically. We looked at gang violence. We looked at the use and abuse of alcohol and drugs. We looked at the police murders. We looked at the farm murders. We also felt like for this current financial year, it would be ideal to also highlight the fact that the perception out there might be that these murders are committed by adults on children, whereas in some instances it's the very same children who are killing their peers. A recent case, I think it was in Everton, where a 14-year-old boy stabbed a 17-year-old boy in school for a cell phone. So these are both children, but the one has killed the other. So we just took certain categories of crimes and then looked at those. Well, in instances of murder that are committed by children, the highest provinces was the Eastern Cape with 231 and the Western Cape with 170, which might not exclude the reason that this might also be gang-related murder. But we have not gone into the detail to determine that it was actually during gang-related violence. Thank you.
All right, let's just wrap this up.
There is a question of the police stations, the readiness of police station of dealing with the question of rape cases, sexual offences. Definitely, the station will not be on the same path. But what we are doing, all those that are new and that are there, we are improving the situation. One, we're improving the physical conditions of the station themselves. That as the, I hate this word victim, that the people that have been abused are called victims. I hate. So there are these care centers where abused women will go there, separated from the ordinary CSC, and get some privacy there. Also, the care centers will have some overnight kind of facility. For instance, if a woman comes at 11 or 12, you don't know what to do, there must be at least an opportunity of an overnight facility, the bed, the toys for the child, and all that to work on that until she's handed over to the relevant structure the next day. That one, but also training more people, as we have said, that especially with the female trainees or female trained people to deal with the matters, because it's always, I guess, a difficult situation for a lady to go and explain how was he raped, explaining to another man. So that will be the easier one to deal with those matters. We have really good facilities, others are improving, but all stations that are coming in existence, we make sure that is happening. The last one is about gangsters. You will never have a number of police each looking after one gangster. It will be a number of police working on that particular project. At the present moment, we are having 20. If we're talking about government or management, we're saying middle management gangsters that are appearing here in Cape Town, working with the structures that have been there, but also assisted by the new approach of your anti-gang unit, your Operation Thunder, including the deployment of the soldiers here. Yes, quite several gangsters have been arrested, high profile of them have been arrested, serious and many other activities have been stopped of the gangsters. We believe that we are getting on top and we'll be able to deal with the gangsters issues going forward. At the present moment, we're even preparing even further to be ready when the withdrawal of the South African National Defence Force comes, during the time that it comes, and we must be ready by that time to say, as South African police, we handle that space. So far, the projects that have been put there, the operations, are working when it comes to dealing with the gangsterism in the Western Cape. Thanks.
Thank you, Minister. I believe there is one question in the capital. Let's just take that one and then we wrap it up here in Cape Town. Pretoria?
Thank you, Lorenzo. We have a follow-up question from Pretorians.
Thank you so much. It's now again from General Skuku, just one last question. When we look at the selected community reported serious crimes, there seems to be a decrease in Gauteng and the Western Cape. However, when you're looking at rural provinces, there seems to be an increase. What do the stats say or suggest from your side?
All right, let's...
Thank you. That's all from our side.
Sure, thanks. Let's take the last round here in Cape Town. Lester, let's start with you.
Thank you very much, Lester from Mailingari. Minister, I'd like your opinion on, or your analysis on the phenomenon of violent crime between people who know each other, particularly when you're looking at gender-based violence and domestic violence, which often relate to murder. I know you said you want to bring in sociologists and criminologists to help unpack that, but I'd like your opinion on that. And secondly, because of the high rate of alcohol-related and drug-related violent crimes, particularly on alcohol, I'd like your opinion whether you would lobby for tougher regulation, legislation around the use of alcohol.
All right, thanks, Lester. Ati, I'll take you there.
Ati Chana from Newsroom Africa. I just want to ask about Nyanga. Are you concerned that it has once again been top of the locations in terms of the murder rate? Are you in any way concerned that it consecutively comes up as one of the top ranking murder locations in South Africa?
All right, let me take the lady in the corner and I'll come after.
Minister Lola Mamaja, SABC, it's a follow-up on the Nyanga question. Have you been able to establish what is the root cause of these high murders, especially in Nyanga and in the Western Cape generally?
All right, and there's quite a few. So let me wrap this up and then we'll go for another one because it is quite a lot of questions. Over to you, Minister.
Well, I don't think I'm very qualified to talk about. I'm a teetotaler. I don't take alcohol at all, including I don't dine in wine. I just dine. So it would be unfair then to use those standards in terms of people taking alcohol. But I must assure you, alcohol has a big portion of crime, of people committing crime, no doubt about that. Firstly, we have taken a decision as South African police to be harsh and tough on crime. We have been moving with you here, showing our warehouses where the confiscated alcohol is kept. Most of the confiscated alcohol is that from the illegal, unlicensed shippings. So for us, we have a rule. We don't negotiate that one, you shut that one down, and you confiscate, go forward, and take the people that you find there. The troublesome one will be the so-called legal and those that have license, and then break the law. Like you find the so-called license with lot of under 18s, that makes it immediately illegal because it's breaking the law. One thing that they break most is the time. Instead of closing at 2, they close at 3, closing at 4. But also is a granting of those licenses. Surely dealing with the local government people, dealing with the people that alcohol or liquor boards and all that is one thing that we talk about, to say you can't give a license that closes at 4 in the morning and you go there, you rate the shipping, they show you the license that they're supposed to close at 4. The longer they stay there, more they drink, more they kill one another as they move out there. Yes, anything from the South African police view that limits the abuse of alcohol will support it. Well, I know there is a bill on the market of 18 to 21 years. For me, if you say I must come, I would have said 30 years, but it's fine that they argue about 21, 18 and all that. So your answer will support anything that limits the abuse of alcohol, because it has proven that alcohol does cause the increase of crime. No doubt about that. Nyanga, if I'm not mistaken, it has been there for many years, but Nyanga police station per se, this year, the police station, I think it has decreased. The police station itself, this time, has decreased, but it's a question of a precinct, what you call about the Nyanga precinct, but police station per se, which means people have begun to work on the police station issues. So maybe going forward, Commissioner and all of us analyzing, we might have to break it further rather than...
Well, that's our breaking news today. Zimbabwe remains the big story today.
Yeah, as well. We understand that the president of Zimbabwe, Emerson Mnangagwa, will be visiting Blue Roof. It's where Grace Mugabe is there as well. So he'll be personally passing his condolences as well and interacting with Grace Mugabe as well.
Interesting that the first person to go through was the opposition leader, Nelson Chamisa, who during the previous election, President Robert Mugabe said he was giving support to. Yeah,
I think there was going to be some sort of celebration or rally with regards to the MDC, and that has now been postponed just in honor of the late Robert Mugabe as well. These are live visuals coming from Harare, Zimbabwe. Remember, Robert Mugabe passed away last week, Friday, at a Singapore hospital. And there again, it throws a whole lot of questions in terms of the situation in Zimbabwe, and especially the health situation in Zimbabwe. If the former president had to be treated in another country. In a different country. It talks really to the state of affairs. As you can see in the live footage coming from there, our colleague Griselda Lewis is ably covering that story. But we have other colleagues there, our foreign editor, Sophie Mukwena. And
if you go to places like Yomarikana, Yoskalo, some areas at Nyanga, Kailisha and all that. Kailisha Side C, police was killed there. And we, under the camera, we tried to get the footage, and we discovered that for 8 years the camera is not working. So these are the things that need to be improved. Hence, the crime situation cannot be the police, national government and agencies only. It's for all of us. Things to be done by provincial government, things to be done by local government. Somebody did ask the question about everybody coming together. That's why tomorrow or Saturday is addressing the mbizo of more departments, more NGOs here in Western Cape in trying to deal with crime issues, including your social development, including your human settlement, including your education, especially your basic education. You go to Hanover Park, you go to Lavender Hill, you have a meeting at 11 on Tuesday. There are more children at the meeting than parents. And those children are endangered to be a pool of recruitment for gangsters and all that. So for the crime real to be defeated is a combination of many government departments, NGOs, and all other people that can make the input on that one. It is then the score that from the side of the police, we're working hard to pull everybody to work together to make conditions better and to make the policing in a chain form better with South African police prosecution and up to the correctional services.
Thank you, Minister. There was one question for you, Lieutenant, about why is it serious crimes are somehow high in urban areas and lower, or rather high in rural areas and lower in urban areas?
I'm not sure. I think the question that was asked was why are the small provinces reducing in terms of the 17 community reported crimes? One thing that maybe one needs to look into is that there is no magic wand that you can wand and say this is the cause of the reduction. Crime is a factor that is, there's a lot of contributions into the issue of crime. It can be unemployment, it can be strikes, it can be so many other things. The other thing that maybe I would like to talk to is the issue of the volumes of crimes. If you look at the contact crimes, they are producing around 39-point-something% in terms of our crimes. And when you look at the provinces, they are all on the increase. Maybe one other thing that a person should look into is the increase in terms of the other broad categories of your contact-related, property-related, other serious crimes. And if there's a category that is decreasing in a certain province, then you have to take the difference between the decrease that has been reported in that particular province versus the other broad categories. Then you can then be in a position to make a guided guess in terms of what are the contributory factors to the reduction in a particular province. But attributing it to one phenomenon, I don't think you can be in a position to do that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Lorenzo, there's an issue by Lester here on gender-based violence and domestic violence. It is a very complex issue, not only for the South African police services, but the world over. If it is never reported, they can never know. So what is happening is that statisticians all over the world, previously here in South Africa, we used to have what we call victims of crime, but now we have a broader survey called Governance, Peace, Security, Justice survey. Now it's got a module that looks at the victims of crime. In cases like domestic violence, you have to talk to the people themselves. So what we do is when we go out there and interview them on the sample dwelling units, we separate them from anyone over the age of 16, from 16 years and above. We speak to them, so they are representative of anyone they know in the family or in the household, or they speak for themselves. One thing that you realize is, while the trends remain the same with the crime statistics released by the police from time to time, in relation to the victims themselves, you see that there is an increase in numbers when we look at it from that side. It's because we talk to the affected people and we pick up cases that are never reported. So if you look at the entire criminal justice system, we look at the number of crime incidents at household level or at personal level. Then we look at the number of cases that are reported, all the way to whether the cases have gone to court and there have been convictions and the like. So it tends to assist in relation to that. But it's a matter that cannot be resolved worldwide by the police. We need to see change in societal values and the way we deal with crime. Crime remains crime. Most of the time, domestic crime, including gender-based violence, is that families will sit and want to discuss this at family level rather than allowing the matter to be handled by the criminal justice system. And Paul has stepped out, I see. He had raised an issue of revisions earlier from Bloomberg. It's not happening here in South Africa alone, and it's not happening to the South African police services. even we in SABC, you will remember recently when we released the GDP, we indicated the revisions based on latest information, and when there are errors in terms of the United Nations fundamental principles of official statistics, such information should be withdrawn and revisions or updated information are made available. And even in this case of the police, they went public, but even if it happened with us at SABC, we would certainly have to go public. So it's how it works in official statistics. Thank you.
Thank you so much, SG, for that. Let's take the last round, colleagues. I see 3 hands, and I'll take those 3 hands. Is that fair? All right. Let's start with you with the... Okay, and 2
Did
more.
you hear well?
From the 2010 to last period, decrease.
Okay, what will consider that?
Yeah, what were the effects that you put in?
Okay.
All right.
Okay, the mic was not on from Cape Town. We didn't hear the question, sir.
You can go ahead. Okay.
Is mine on?
Yes.
Okay. My name is Cele and I'm with Independent Media. My question is more of a follow-up with regards to having smaller precincts for problem police stations. I see Khayelitsha and Delft have recorded increases in murders and in the top 30 across the country. And there's been a call for another police station in Khayelitsha for Makaza. And that's been a call that's been on for the last 5 years. Are there plans to still build that police stations? And how has the satellite police station in Samora Machel affected the decrease in the Nyanga precinct? Thank you.
All right, colleagues, just one more.
Jean van der Walt from SABC. The Major General said during the portfolio briefing that there's increase in stock theft and across all provinces, and that you would like to focus more on it, bringing it down. I just want to know how do you plan to bring it down? And then I just want to know which farms are mostly affected by stock theft. Which farms, like is it a commercial farmer or a rural farmer?
All right, thank you. With that, over to the panel.
The small stations, many of them, that approach.
I think it's the service delivery access strategy.
Answer that. The Commission will answer the question of the smaller stations, where the other one was specific. What happened for the decrease? There were good practices that were there. One thing that happened, we are on the way for revival of the team now. What was called as a tracking team. People that were trained and were there to make sure that they get every criminal we want. Their job was one. Wake up in the morning, go to the crime intelligence, go to the detective and say, give us the list of the people we want most today. And then their job would go and get those people. So there was a high degree of arrest. So people began to understand that if you committed this crime, then you'll be arrested. I'm sure the commissioner now is working with the provincial commissioners in dealing with those teams going forward. The other things was to train and make the visibility of the South African police on the streets, especially on the areas that would have been a high risk. One easy thing for the South African police to do to reduce crime is a visibility. You remember that most of the exit and entrance in the townships and highways and the areas like your Sentin and all, you would have the the cars that are parked there, that will be visible 24 hours, blue light and all that. That visibility made a lot of sense to the general populace and a lot of fear with the criminals. So it reduced those. Some of the things, unfortunately, cannot be said that we did now, but that we're bringing back. But with the old working methodologies and the new that we are working on, we will be reducing a crime, especially fear crime, and the murder itself will be able, but big portion that we'll put there is a visibility of the South African police and quick response and working with the prosecution that those people are sent where they belong, where they're supposed to be. Commissioner, on the Samora and Makaza and all that.
No, thank you very much, Minister. Maybe firstly, the construction of this police station on the agenda is still continuing, and it's part and parcel of the service delivery access priority list. But I would like to give the explanation in this way, that the process that we're following now, all police stations are divided according to sectors. And we start by profiling each sector, because those sectors, they constitute the profile, the total profile of the police station. Then we're also monitoring the spatial development stretch, which is done through spatial development analysis. Then as your spatial development takes its course, one of the sectors will get affected. And it may happen that the access to service delivery by the communities become displaced. Then we graduate that particular sector to a satellite, from a contact point to a satellite. We also continue with the profiling of the sector, of the satellites. The satellite where the spatial development overstretches, then we graduate it to what we call a quick service delivery access police station. And these are the police stations like your Samora Machel. It's a police station that would take minimum 6 months and not more than 10 months. So within the same financial year, we can contract that police station and finalize it. But it's a fully fledged police station. Then if the spatial development goes beyond that, then that's when we come to a capital project police station, which is what we refer to as the university police station. And that is your biggest police station. So currently the service delivery access strategy has been put in place and is being executed. And an audit has been taken nationally, and then so that we get the number of those police stations that we should contract as a matter of urgency. Thank you.
The issue on stock theft, I wanted to bring it to the fore so that people should know that there's a crime. That there's an issue of stock theft that is happening in our country. The reason why I said we need to focus on it is because stock theft is not a spectacular crime like your cash in transit, where you will see people taking footage and distributing it over the social media, etc. It happens in private spaces among people who are not unionized, whereby there won't be any subject to bring to the attention of the police that there's an increase in cash in transit heist. It's happening mostly to people who are in the rural areas, who are not unionized, who do not have a voice or a union to speak on their behalf. So highlighting it shows that these are areas of concern that we need to focus on as the police, so that these people can also have a voice. And in terms of where it is happening, 9,273 of these happened in rural areas, 7,865 happened in inhabited areas, and then 1,652 in informal residence areas. So deeper analysis will have to be done so that we can be in a position to proactively guide in terms of what needs to be prioritized. Thank you.
Adding on that, it's one area where we are taking it very serious, the question of this stock theft. It's got a huge economic impact negatively. You ask if it is commercial or ordinary communal farmers out there. It's anywhere. Is anywhere, and is a loss of the serious income. You remember that a certain individual that has got 20 of Kekle and you take it all to him or to that household, that is the highest bank robbery. That is not spectacular for us to send the helicopters because it's not a cash out, but the impact might be even worse than for that household that is not insured, that they've put on the 30 head of Kekle all their pension and all that. So it's something that we are really working hard as the South African police. But also maybe what the General Skukune has not said is becoming, or it is a highly organized. Is not just haphazard. It's organized. We know that many Shisanyamas, they are using the stolen meat rather than meat. Yes, yeah. Many of them they use. Even sometimes the official institution, you find that there are some hospitals where they are supplied with the stolen meat. So we're putting it there. We're putting resources, but also remember, it's a cross-border crime. It's a cross-border crime, especially those rural areas and farmers that are near the borders, your Lesotho, your Mozambique, your Zim, and all that. So they are also on the agenda when we meet with our counterparts on the other side. We speak with the Mozambican Minister of Police, your Lesotho. I know for sure last week there was a meeting between the MSC and the MSC Free State with the officials from Lesotho to work on these matters of the cross-border as organized and people dying quietly because the whole accumulation of your wealth for all your life is taken one night. The last point on this is not just the stealing, it has become so violent. It's become violent. They come and knock at your door and they tell you not to come out, and there'll be one or two gunshots that warning you not to come out, and they take the whole crawl and they go. So the South African police is one area that really needs concern. Unfortunately, it's not dramatic as other areas of crime, but those people are having a quiet death in terms of economy there.
Thank you so much, Minister, for that. This brings to a close of our press briefing. But I think also please indicate if you will need some one-on-ones. Be reminded that the Minister and the panel do have to rush. But with that, thank you for your attendance.
Is it possible just to cut the comment?
Minister, is it possible to have your hard copy? It's very difficult to read. He says from the website, but it's very difficult.
That's a media person, ma'am. Minister doesn't carry hard copies. Shh.